Hello, my name is Raftopoulos, and I'm going to be presenting on the synthesis of derivatives of Ibogaine. So, Ibogaine has historically been used to treat addiction from various drugs, including cocaine, nicotine, alcohol, and opioids. Currently, Ibogaine is Schedule 1 by the DEA, meaning it can no longer be used in this kind of treatment, although it was prevalent in the 60s. Now, there definitely exists a need to create derivatives of Ibogaine without the psychedelic side effects, especially due to the current opioid crisis in the US today. One way that this could be done is by activating a biased agonism signaling pathway at the kappa opioid receptor, which could still allow for the anti-addictive effects to be retained without having the hallucinogenic side effects. So previously in the Samish lab, there's a series of derivatives that replace the indole ring with a benzofuran ring by substituting the nitrogen in the aromatic portion with an oxygen in the aromatic portion. And these were made, and they turn on selectivity for kappa and the mu opioid receptors. And this is related to pain reduction, and it turns the scaffold into an analgesic. Now, although derivatives with this oxygen included as a substituent would be very interesting to pursue, they all have a high affinity for hERG. hERG is a potassium ion channel in the heart that allows for our heart to beat with a regular rhythm. So if you look at the binding data for compound 1 in comparison to noribogaine, you can see that both bind strongly to hERG, and this would lead to arrhythmia-like side effects, and it's undesirable for drug candidates to have these heart effects, and they wouldn't be able to be used in any way. So there exists a definitive need to remove this side effect from these drugs, and that was the goal of my project. The goal was to create derivatives that remove the hERG problem from the Ibogaine scaffold. And one way we thought this could be done was by removing the upper ethyl bridge. By doing so, you create a freedom of rotation in the molecule that could create potency differences between the two proteins, between hERG and proteins like kappa and mu opioid receptors. So theoretically, you could dose the compound differently and have it bind to these receptors in different ways, such that it might bind to kappa and mu strongly and could be dosed in a way where the binding at hERG is pretty non-existent. Another way where we thought this could reduce the activity at hERG was by removing the isoquinoline core altogether and by simply creating an azapine ring. Obviously, this compound wouldn't need to capitalize on potency differences because it just has the isoquinoline core removed altogether and will be unlikely to bind at hERG. So the way in which we approached synthesizing the non-upper ethyl bridge derivatives was by firstly through the creation of an aromatic Grignard. And when we did this, we took a substituted benzofuran and reacted it in N-butyl lithium and ether to deprotonate it theoretically at the 2 position. Then we added magnesium bromide to this deprotonated benzofuran in hopes of creating an aromatic Grignard reagent. So the goal would be to create a magnesium bromide at the 2 position here. Then after that, we directly added an isoquinoline ketone to this aromatic Grignard, and hopefully what we thought would be happening was that the benzofuran would do an addition to the ketone, and it would create this non-bridged product. And this seemed to work when there was no ethyl group attached to the isoquinoline. However, when there was an ethyl group, this reaction gave somewhat spotty results. So it wasn't super reliable. And a better approach that we actually found was the alkylithium approach. It was super similar, except it involved starting with a benzofuran derivative that was already substituted at the 2 position with a bromide. And then when you react it with N-butyl lithium and ether, this reagent will do a halogen lithium exchange, and it will result in a lithium being at the 2 position. And then this reagent can be reacted with the isoquinoline core, ketone version of the isoquinoline core, to create a non-bridged product. And this actually worked a lot better with ethyl groups attached to the bicyclic isoquinoline core. And that's confirmed by TLC, although TLC also showed that the exoethyl group didn't give as clean of a reaction, but it's confirmed by TLC and also confirmed by NMR and mass spec. NMR shows that this product was definitely formed due to 4 aromatic protons being present in the NMR spectra, which is indicative of the substitutions in this compound. And on top of that, one of the aromatic protons, which is believed to be at the 3 position of the benzofuran ring, is split in half. And this is a result of the benzofuran lithium adding from the top face or the bottom face. And that would result in the splitting as seen here. And there's more splitting actually on the bridgehead proton of the isoquinoline structure. And this again reinforces the fact that there are 2 stereoisomers being made here. So that's very strong evidence that the compound is in fact being made. On top of that, mass spec has a series of deconstructions that are in line with the exact mass of the compound, most notably with a mass of 18 falling off due to water, and also with a mass that corresponds to the protecting group falling off. So this is strong evidence that the compound was in fact made. When it comes to synthesis of the azapenes, we do this Sharadsky modification to the Fischer-Indel synthesis to create a benzofuran ring that also has a 7-membered ring attached to it. And this could be substituted in positions R1 and R2 that I've highlighted below. And this obviously is the result of reacting the precursors in dioxane and methyl sulfonic acid. And then this will make the desired benzofuran product. Then after that, you can turn the bromide group, which is in one of the reactants, into a hydroxy group through a palladium catalyzed reaction with bis pinacollato diboron, and then palladium DPPF, along with potassium acetate as the first step. And then after that, you can quench it with hydrogen peroxide and sodium hydroxide. And that will turn the bromide group into a hydroxide group. After that, you can simply deprotect the nitrogen with lithium hydroxide, and that would give you the desired azapine product. And obviously, you can have that, like I said before, substituted at the R1 and R2 positions. When it comes to next steps of this project, obviously the non-bridge derivative has a hydroxy group attached to the isoquinoline core. This can easily be dehydrated if we'd like to do that, which is looking like the direction we're taking. It can easily be dehydrated and to leave a double bond to create an alkene in that position. And after that, that compound can be tested in receptor analysis and also in vivo testing. The same can go for the azapine derivatives. You can do a series of assays, binding assays to receptors to see how strongly these compounds bind to receptors like kappa and also like hERG. And then after that, or at the same time, we could do a series of in vivo functional assays to see how do these compounds actually work in a live animal. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you for listening to my recording, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.